Alright, so we gotta just redo this because for whatever reason that was lost right there. Something that we've lied because they look up the verses that we had in our video about the Mohammedans lying to the Ethiopian Christians. What even many Mohammedans and sincere Muslims don't recognize and don't realize is that the Quran that they have in their hands now is not in the same order. It is out of order according to the original revelation of their prophet Muhammad. In other words, the verses that we gave were, for example, 113. Originally, what was revealed as 113 has been put into the English translated Bibles, Korans, the Bibles of the Muslims, but their scriptures, in other words, biblios, meaning a book, have been put into their book as Surah 9. What we're saying, in other words, is that the Suwar, plural for the surahs, or the suroch, in other words, but the Suwar, which are the chapters or the degrees in the Quran that were revealed allegedly to the Prophet Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin by the Malaka Gabriel, by the angel Jibrail, originally have been put in a different man-chosen and man-made order. So when you look up 113, what was originally 113, according to what was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, is now in your Quran as Surah 9, as chapter 9. So every sincere Muslim or Muslim or Mohammedan, if you follow the religion of Islam, you need to go to your so-called leaders and really ask, why did they reverse the order of the revelation? If the revelation that was given to their prophet was perfect, coming directly down from God and through the angel Gabriel, why did men and people years, hundreds, 50, 100 or more years after the prophet's death and burial, why did they reverse the order? See, this is why you have Sunnis, and this is why you have Shias, and this is why you have the different derisiveness even among the so-called religion of Islam, because the truth and the fact is that the Mohammedans have not only lied to the Ethiopian Christians, but they've also lied to their own Muslim or Muslim brothers and sisters concerning the original order in which the Quran came down. In the version that most people will look up the verses that we gave, seeing that they don't read any Arabiya Fusa and are not really studying this, studying even their own religion to show themselves approved, they'll go to Surah 113 in today's perversion of Muhammad's original message, you understand, and they won't find verse 30 and 31. Most Muslims or people who are interested in what we have communicated, what they need to know, and this is why we're doing this follow-up video, what they need to understand is that the Quran that most of them are holding today is out of order. It's not in the same order, and Muslims admit this. You could study their hadith, you could go to Muslim scholars or go to your imam, and if he's worth, you understand, if he's worth his Arabiya Fusa, he understands and he knows that the Quran that they give and that they utilize today is not in the same order as it was revealed to their prophet Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin. You understand? By way of the prophet Gabriel. Now this is very curious to us because originally Surah 113 was 113. You understand? But now you have it as 9. In other words, the order is out of order. Their order is out of order. And it wasn't us trying to lie or deceive the lost sheep or so forth and so on. What they need to recognize is that, and this is the main point of this particular video, is that the surahs or the suwar that they have is not in the same order as it was originally revealed to Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin from 570 to 632 AD, according to their testimony by the prophet, by the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel, Malak Gabriel, the angel Jibrail, was sent by God, Allah, right, to the prophet Muhammad, right, because the people were in Jahiliyyah, spiritual and a time of ignorance. So God sent an angel who sent a message in a certain order, but later on men and people have switched up the order. So in our video, we gave you the original order. And most Muslim or people who get a little confused and dismiss it and everything, they need to recognize that the Quran, the order of the Suwar, has been changed by man. So what they're trying to say is that if God did give this to Gabriel and Gabriel communicated this message to Muhammad, later on men and people who God didn't send no angel Gabriel to communicate nothing to them knew better than Muhammad, knew better than Gabriel, and knew better than God to give you the Quran in a different order. So the Quran, the original order of the chapters, have been changed. The original order of the chapters in the Quran has been changed. That's why in the video that we did, and we're going to update it, probably annotate it so that people can recognize that the order is out of order, but the way that the verses that we quoted was according to the original order and not according to this later day bastardized order of the Muhammadans. So the Muhammadans actually are lying to their own people. You understand? So we're giving you a faithful testimony according to the facts, and they all know these facts about the Suwar and the original order of the revelation, and later on it was changed and was compiled into the version, or we can even say perversion, that they give people today. But then if you study Islamic scholarship, they'll say, well, you know that the first chapter was originally revealed as the 5th chapter. The second chapter was originally revealed as the 87th chapter. The third chapter was originally revealed as the 89th chapter. The fourth chapter was originally revealed as the 92nd chapter. The fifth chapter was originally revealed as chapter 112. In other words, what they did was reordered according to length. They have a whole bunch of reasons for why they reordered, like the longest chapters in the beginning and the shortest chapters at the end, so forth and so on. But that's not the original way that was revealed. If you read the Quran the way it was originally revealed, it becomes a total different message. It's like if you take the Bible and we put Revelation in the beginning of the Bible, and we put Genesis at the end of the Bible, and we put some of the books from the New Testament into the Old Testament, some of the books from the Old Testament and the New Testament, and we switch around the chapters in each of the books. Can you imagine what the Bible would read like? No wonder there'll be wars and rumors of wars. No wonder they'll be seeking to kill God's people and think that they're doing, you know, the job of God. Actually, they're under delusion of Satan. This is why that Salman Rushdie, who came out with his book, The Satanic Verses, got so much fight from certain corners of Islamdom. You understand? Because he was pointing out facts and truths. You understand? So I hope this better helps you to understand that our testimony in our video was according to what Muhammad was originally given. You see, we're going back to that time when the first Muslim, the Sahaba of Muhammad, Mustafa al-Amin, came into Ethiopia, came into Abyssinia. You understand? This is before the reverse of the order of the chapters of the Quran took place, which took place hundreds of years, 100 or more years after the Prophet's death. So you need to check your facts out. You understand? And ask that question. Ask, why did the Muhammadans, why do they lie to anybody who want to become a Muslim and make people think that chapter 1 was originally chapter 1? The first thing that Muhammad was given was chapter 1, when that wasn't chapter 1. In fact, it's very interesting that if you look at the first chapter that was revealed, it was chapter 96. The first chapter of the Quran that was actually revealed by the angel Gabriel, who was sent by God to reveal this to Muhammad, was not chapter 1 that you have today in your Qurans. That was chapter 5. But the first chapter, you will have to get to chapter 96 in the present order to find what was the first chapter that was revealed to Muhammad. So the entire order, I have a whole list right here of the reordering, you know, the original chapters and how it is in the present Quran. You understand? So our quote, you understand, is factual. You understand? The quote right there is factual. What your Islamic teachers and imams need to do is educate the people. But the first question that any logical being and sincere being is going to ask, well, if the angel was sent by God to Muhammad and the first chapter is actually the 96th chapter, why is that? And if the first chapter they have in their Quran today was the 5th chapter, why did they switch up the order of the Suwar? That's the question. Ask your imams that. You understand? Don't ask us that. But we had to touch on this because the question was, or really the insinuation was, that we're not really sincere and that we're lying to God's elect and that how Satan and the Jesuits and everything. That happened, but not by us. That's all for right now.